If it's happening in New York, New Jersey, or Long Island, hear about it with Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.
Portions of this show sponsored by Route 22 Nissan.
What a morning, Mamma Mia. It's Piscopo in the morning. You don't want to miss this non-stop action, always. David Burke, thank you. He is so much fun. And Chele Farley, thank you for coming in. Look at you all dressed up,
Joe, yes.
Showing up at live, running. This is a big office.
It's a big office.
You're going after Senator Gillibrand. Not going after. You're just proposing a better way, you think, for the state of New York.
Absolutely. She's been in there for 9 years, and what do we really have
to
to show for it?
Has she been there that long already?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it will be 10 years by the end of this term as a senator, and she was 2 years in the House. And I'm also a big fan of term limits.
Yeah.
And I think
Hello.
Hello. So I've said that, when I win, I'll serve 2 terms and then I'm gone, and it's time for someone else with new energy and enthusiasm.
I'm a political junkie, and we appreciate you coming in because I love it that you're jumping into the arena. It's a lot to do. I admire you for that, and God bless you for that. But first things first. Have you ever seen an ostrich egg? You said you met an emu before?
I have met an emu.
Joey Emu?
Yes. Well, no, it was incredible. I have a friend who has a farm on Long Island, and she was given an emu, which she thought was fantastic. But the emu is mean.
They are.
And they're mean, and they're not very smart. So they nicknamed it Einstein. So she is Einstein the emu.
I didn't even know what an emu was.
Yeah, it's sort of like you call it a small ostrich, but ostriches are like huge. So this emu still stands 5 feet tall.
It's so funny. Hey, Chele, tell us where you were brought up.
So I was brought up outside Boston.
Okay.
And I then went to Stanford, studied engineering.
Holy moly!
Which people think is odd, but my father always wanted a son. He was a big engineer, actually a rocket scientist, and he said, "Hey, look, when I don't have a son, I'm going to raise you just the same."
Yeah, well.
And I was really happy.
And then when did you come to New York?
I came to New York, it's almost 30 years ago, over 25 years now, and I knew I wanted to live and work in New York City. There was no question.
Yeah, that's the ultimate place. It is the goal for everybody, right?
Absolutely. So I got a job in finance and have happily called New York my home.
Wow. So what now? People always ask me this, and I know the answer, but for those listening that we want to introduce to, that's great. We have a great, very, very, and I'm not patronizing, they're very astute. The matter of fact, we learn from the audience. The folks will call and say, Joe, wait, I think you're a little off base here, and then we listen. So tell us why you want to run, why you want to make the change. And we know the answer, but hear it from your heart.
Absolutely. I was the finance chair traveling around the state for the Republican Party, and I kept talking to people who were really disappointed by Washington. They said, it's ridiculous. There's obstruction on both sides of the aisle, and it's got to stop. I mean, we've seen it by not 1 but 2 government shutdowns. I mean, it's ridiculous. So people kept saying, why don't you run? Why don't you run? And I was like, I don't know that it's a good time. I have young children.
You do?
I do.
How old are they?
I have 3 boys. 11, 16, and 18.
Okay, wait a minute. Now stay with me, because and thank you. So they want me, Joe, you got to run against Menendez, Senator Menendez. I say this right for the record. He's very tough to beat. He's formidable. He's very smart. Despite, the legal problems that he had, I don't know that I want to be going down to Washington. I have kids myself like that. So thank you for making that sacrifice. That's a big sacrifice for you.
Well, it was interesting. So when it was first brought up and
to the family,
I said, I don't think it's a good time. And I went home and I mentioned it to my husband. And I said, can you believe, they asked me if I wanted to run for U.S. Senate? And he said, call him right back and tell him yes.
Wow.
Oh, absolutely. And it's incredible. My husband is a Democrat.
Oh, this is great.
Yes.
This
and he said, no way. He said, I can't think of anybody who would be better.
Yeah.
And we'll be fine.
Yeah.
And you need to do this. Yeah. Frankly, you will not have another opportunity.
Yeah.
It's just, you need to do it. So I thank him.
Did you talk to the kids about it?
Oh, yeah. My youngest is thrilled. So, there's a Farley post office here in New York City.
Farley post office, right,
yes, which is named after my husband's great uncle, James Aloysius Farley. All right. And my son is James Aloysius Farley. So he always says the post office is named after him. But they're now talking about changing the name. And he's like, oh, no. That has to be the only thing. That's the only thing I want you to do, is to make sure that my post office stays.
Well, there's a chance against see Senator Gillibrand too, and I can't stand attack politics.
Yeah.
And I want to treat her with respect and welcome her to the airways, surely. But what I didn't like about it is like they jump on that Democratic bandwagon down there in Washington, and with Chuck Schumer, who's very smart, and people can't stand Chuck Schumer. This guy is brilliant politically; he's a great strategist. But with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer down there, and Adam Schiff and Maxine Waters, it's like they've lost complete sight of what the American people want. And then I always thought Senator Gillibrand was like, well, she understands New York. She's for New York, But then she went right hook, line, and sinker with that swamp. And it was disappointing, frankly.
Absolutely. I mean, the joke is that she was known as Annie Oakley when she was in the House, and she's turned into Jane Fonda in the Senate. It's like, what happened?
Yeah.
But it's funny you mentioned Maxine Waters. So I was at an event last night with Claudia Tenney and Jeb Henserling, who is chair of the Financial Services Committee. He's retiring. And he said if the Democrats take control of the House, Maxine Waters is the next chair of financial services.
In Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Now, and listen, and again, no personal attacks. She just scares me. I don't know. Because it's all hate. It's all hate. There's no initiative. This is what I can't stand from the progressive socialists. I could deal with a liberal Democrat. I really can. But the progressive socialists that seem to be in power now, all they do is attack. It's all anti-Trump. It's all anti-conservative. There's no initiative. Tell us what initiatives you have for the state of New York.
The other big thing is that there's no facts behind it. It's all emotion.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And as an engineer, I'm like, hey, look, you try something. If it doesn't work, now you've given it a certain amount of time. You try something else. This tax bill is a great example.
Yeah.
All right. What happened? Kirsten Gillibrand sat on her hands. The tax bill was good for many New Yorkers, but frankly, it could have been a lot better. Having a $10,000 cap is crazy. So many people, who live in the suburbs, their property taxes are a lot more than $10,000.
Oh, yes. A little more. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And how you look at here, Marco Rubio was able to double the child tax credit in exchange for his vote. Why couldn't she have, increased it to $25,000 or $30,000?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm pledging. And I still think there's an opportunity to make some changes. And two ideas we're looking at. Number one, these 529 accounts where you can save tax-free for your child's education.
Yeah.
People's school taxes are really high.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you save tax-free there and use it to pay your school taxes?
Yeah, it's a great idea. Anything in that regard. What'd you think of the omnibus bill down there?
Well, I think the omnibus bill, it's so funny. Here, she was talking about, she's taking credit for all of these things in the omnibus bill, and then she voted against it.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things that New York desperately needs.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on the Gateway Project.
Yeah.
Which are the tunnels between New Jersey and New York.
Yep.
Here, that's $13 billion. People say we don't have any money. That's actually not true.
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest reasons why I'm running is the $40 billion that New York taxpayers send down to Washington every year.
Thank you.
That we don't get back.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. And we desperately need those funds for infrastructure. So again, as an engineer, that's my real focus. And of course, what does bringing all this money back for infrastructure create? Jobs,
yeah.
Really good middle-class jobs.
You're going to help upstate, too. That desperately.
Absolutely.
Upstate,
yes.
Great. What a beautiful. I love the people of upstate New York. They're so real, and they still, they just can't economically get on their feet.
No. Completely. And things are falling apart there, certainly. In Troy, there was a water line that was 111 years old, right, that failed back in 2016.
Yeah.
All of our water mains are going to fail because they're all over a century old.
Yeah.
And because they're buried, nobody's focusing on them. And this is the kind of thing that we need to do.
So the most important question here is, you're Italian?
I am.
Forget about it.
Chiavaci.
Okay. That's look at
yes,
you.
Absolutely.
Well, hold on a second now. Can you hyphenate your last name? So we need all the help we can get. Tell us your last name again.
No. So
Caravacci.
Yeah, Chiavaci. It means keeper of the key in Italian.
Perfect.
Chiave.
Come on.
Yes.
and where was the family from in Italy?
The family was from Florence.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
Yes.
No wonder you're an engineer.
Yeah.
See, if you're from Avellino, you'd be a farmer. No, I'm kidding, because I'm from Avellino.
Well, I lived in Italy as a kid.
Get out of
Yes,
here.
yes. I lived outside of Venice near Aviano.
Politics aside, you
Yeah.
have my vote because of all
Thank
this.
you. Absolutely. I know.
Except I'm in Jersey, but it's okay. I'll bus in. Or I'll send somebody who's retired or deceased or homeless, and I'll bus them in to vote. I'm kidding, of course. So tell me about Italy, your life in Italy.
So I lived
How many
in
years
Italy.
were you?
Oh, well, I was in Italy until I was 5 years old. And
You stayed there
pretty
like
fun.
most of your childhood up there?
Well, yeah. So, but my problem is I spoke great Italian.
Yeah.
But people say, "How's your Italian?" I said, "I'm really great at ordering, gelati," but but I can't really have a conversation about anything else. I was born in the U.S., born in Boston, and as were both of my parents. But my father was working on a project there for Raytheon.
How great is that?
Yes.
In Florence. Excuse me, in Florence.
Yeah, in Venice.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? How
Yeah,
beautiful
I
is
know.
that up there,
Yeah.
right?
So it was fantastic.
Is there a neighborhood in Venice? You had a canal in front of you. That's your
Yeah.
front lawn. There's a canal. I mean, am I right? I mean, right. I couldn't find any land there. How about Murano? Did you go to
Beautiful.
The
Absolutely.
island off of...
In fact, how
about Frankie Murano?
My parents got
No,
a
sorry.
lot. Frankie Morano's great. Well, I have to thank him because I just got the Reform Party nomination.
There
from him
you go.
on Sunday.
I'll tell you.
Yes.
It was not she won overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
So this is the Republicans. I know we have a lot of people in New York that
Yes, sir.
are eager for a Republican winner. This is by far the Republicans' best chance for a win statewide this year. By far.
Shell, I have to say, he never says that.
He never says that?
No.
Good.
This is great.
Well, it's
This
because
is a good
no
thing.
one else is going to win. I mean,
Yeah,
again, we could talk about the merits of each candidate.
No,
but,
you're right.
this is a rare opportunity to have a Republican win in a blue state.
And she came into the show live, Frankie Fibros. Shell, thank you. Shell Farley. Italian last name again?
Chiavacci.
Caravacci. I
Yes.
would use that as much as you can.
I completely agree. That's why it's on all the cards.
Oh, look at you.
Yes.
Let me see. This
It's
is
right here.
great.
Yes.
Shell, you're welcome here anytime. God bless you. I so admire you. It's not an easy thing, especially being a mom and everything, but your dedication to the state is formidable. So thank you for taking the time and joining
you.
us.
It's a pleasure.
God bless, Godspeed. Shell Farley, and you know what? You keep your eye open for this young lady running against Kirsten Gillibrand. This is going to be a very interesting political season.
Everybody knows this guy. Now, everybody knows he can do a radio show. Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.